Military base pizza delivery, the land of generous tips, flirty officers' wives, and stories swapped over steaming hot pies. It was a good gig, a greasy grind with a steady stream of cash. This particular night, I was riding a high $5–10 tips lining my pockets, the graveyard shift winding down with just me, and the dispatcher keeping the ovens humming. The final order dropped into my lap, a house nestled in the base housing, ironically cheek by jowl with the town's rougher side, separated only by a chain-link fence. 1 a.m., dark as a surgeon's humor. The dude who answered, glassy-eyed and wobbly, invited me in. I knew the drill. Stay friendly, make small talk, rake in the tip and vanish. But tonight, Lady Luck took a vacation. He started rambling, words slurring like a half-eaten pizza, about how his wife been cheating while he was deployed. His voice, raw with hurt and anger, tugged at my gut. I tried the consoler routine, offering empty platitudes and awkward pats on the back. He signed the credit slip, a shaky scribble, and I was about to hightail it out when the air shifted. "You believe in God, man," he rasped, his bloodshot eyes boring into mine. "I'm no apostle, but I figured a little faith might soothe his demons." "Not really," I confessed. His response was a chilling laugh, the kind that cracks open the abyss. "God's a joke," he spat. "And we'd better hope he likes us." My stomach lurched. Before I could react, a glint of metal materialized in his hand. A revolver. He pulled the trigger. No bang, just the click of an empty chamber. The barrel, inches from his temple, wavered. Then, with a manic glint in his eye, he pointed it at me. Click. Click again. Russian roulette with our lives, played in a dimly lit kitchen. My primal instinct kicked in. I bolted. The screen door shattered as I burst through. The sound of breaking glass a symphony compared to the cold sweat clinging to my skin. I sprinted to my car, dialing military police as I sped away. The image of that gun, the hollow clicks, echoing in my mind. The aftermath was a blur, flashing sirens, hushed voices, the cold steel of interrogation. I never learned what became of the soldier, if he found peace or oblivion in the other chamber. But the memory of that night, the dance with death in a pizza-scented kitchen, became a permanent resident in my nightmares. It was a reminder that even the most routine deliveries can turn into a descent into the darkness. A reminder that behind every smile, every order, every tip, lurks the potential for the unthinkable. And that sometimes, the only weapon you have is the desperate, adrenaline-fueled sprint towards the light. In the dimly lit realm of the closing Domino's store, the night took an ominous turn. As I diligently undertook the final tasks, the weight of half the day's trash burdened my hands. Eager to expedite the process, I left the side door ajar, a decision that would soon unveil a harrowing encounter. A sudden intrusion shattered the tranquility. A masked figure wielding a gun emerged. The ominous click echoed through the space, freezing time as the barrel pointed menacingly in our faces. In that surreal moment, my gaze fixated on the unremarkable brown tiles beneath me, contemplating whether this mundane sight would be my last. The aftermath brought an unwarranted hiatus, a week off that did little to quell the jumpy nerves that persisted for months upon my return. Yet fate seemed intent on testing my resilience once more. A routine delivery, a seemingly ordinary doorstep encounter, morphed into a heart-stopping spectacle. A customer swung their door open abruptly, and the cold metal of a pistol pressed against my forehead. Time hung suspended, the seconds stretching into eternities, before the tension unraveled with a chilling declaration. "It's just a joke. I thought you were my friends." The weapon revealed itself as an airsoft pistol, but the scars of the unnerving jest lingered, etching an indelible mark on my psyche. The thin line between reality and jest blurred, leaving me grappling with the unsettling shadows that lurked in the mundane corners of my everyday existence. The sun beat down on my delivery route, painting the idyllic streets of our small town in a lazy summer haze. Houses with picket fences and manicured lawns lined the way, a scene straight out of a Norman Rockwell painting. But a flicker of movement on the sidewalk snagged my attention. A man, hunched over like a question mark, stumbled along, his steps wobbly and erratic. My first thought was the same one that always plagued our sleepy town. Someone's got a head start on their afternoon cocktail. I chuckled to myself, parked the scooter a few houses down, and started the uphill trek to my next delivery. Suddenly, a siren ripped through the air, shattering the peaceful lull. My head whipped around just as two cop cars, lights blazing, screeched past, tires spitting gravel in their wake. My delivery forgotten, I watched in stunned silence as they raced towards the man I'd just seen. My heart hammered a frantic tattoo against my ribs. Curiosity, that insatiable itch, gnawed at me. As if compelled by an unseen force, I turned back towards the house, each step heavy with a premonition of something wrong. That's when I saw it, a smudge of crimson on the doormat. A stark, horrifying exclamation point against the pristine white. My breath caught in my throat, the carefree summer haze morphing into a chilling fog. I scanned the porch, then the steps, and my blood ran cold. Blood everywhere, not a neat puddle, but a ghoulish trail weaving its way down the stairs like a macabre ribbon. It led, in a horrifyingly direct line, to the hunched figure I dismissed as a tipsy townie. My body lurched before I could think. Adrenaline-fueled terror propelled me forward, the forgotten pizza bag bouncing against my leg. A woman, face contorted in panic, roared past me in a speeding SUV, her scream echoing in the air. "Get out of there." As I reached the curb, the scene before me solidified into a nightmare. The man lay crumpled on the sidewalk, his crumpled form a twisted canvas of crimson. And standing over him, a figure in silhouette, a glint of metal catching the dying sunlight. My scream, raw and primal, ripped through the air. The figure bolted, vanishing into the maze of houses like a phantom. I stood frozen, the world tilting on its axis, the pizza forgotten, the smell of blood clinging to the air like a shroud. When the sirens returned, their wail a dirge for the shattered peace of our town, I was numb. The cops, faces grim, questioned me, their words a dull murmur in the ringing in my ears. The rest of the day blurred, a kaleidoscope of flashing lights and hushed voices. The delivery I never made became a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most ordinary places. And the image of the man, crumpled and stained, remains etched in my memory, a grim testament to the day my small town's innocence died, replaced by the cold, hard reality of violence. It was a day that changed me, leaving a scar deeper than any pizza cutter ever could. A day that taught me that even in the heart of Norman Rockwell's America, the shadows hold secrets, and sometimes the most innocent beginnings can lead to the most horrifying ends. The mother of all meat lovers, as we lovingly called it in the pizza joint, wasn't just a pizza. It was a beast. 36 inches of cheesy, saucy, carnivorous glory, capable of feeding a small army. So when the order pinged through for one of these bad boys heading to the local fire station, I knew it meant good tips and bragging rights. Lugging that bad boy into the firehouse felt like carrying a miniature planet. Navigating the corridors was like threading a needle, finally emerging into their lunchroom with sweaty palms and a grin. But my grin died a quick death. The room was a disaster zone. Pizza boxes, crumpled like fallen gladiators, littered every surface. One burly fireman, noticing my predicament, lumbered over and began tossing boxes onto the stove like a culinary gladiator clearing the arena. As I started counting change for the fat 50 they'd shelled out, a strange smell drifted in. Burnt cardboard. Then came the smoke, like a dragon's first puff. And then the flames. Those greasy cardboard gladiators on the stove, nestled against still hot burners, had decided to stage a fiery rebellion. For what felt like an eternity, everyone stared, frozen in a tableau of disbelief. Finally, a voice broke the spell. "Guys, do we even have an extinguisher in here?" Pandemonium erupted. Firemen, trained to fight flames, were suddenly scrambling for a fire extinguisher in their own kitchen. Alarms blared. Men in boots clattered out to their trucks, the building buzzing with the urgent drone of a self-inflicted crisis. For 2 minutes, chaos reigned, an almost comical flip-flop of roles. Finally, the blaze was subdued, leaving behind a smoky battlefield of soggy cardboard and blackened cheese. They waved me off, shoving the 50 into my hand with a sheepish grin. "Keep the change," one mumbled, "and maybe you could forget this ever happened." Back in the pizza joint, breathless and bewildered, I recounted the tale. My boss, tears streaming down his face, couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. "Only in this town," he finally wheezed, "can the firemen start their own fire with pizza boxes." That day, I learned a valuable lesson. In the land of irony, even the fire department isn't immune to a good, greasy inferno. And sometimes, the biggest emergencies come with the biggest pizzas and the silliest of causes. I may not have gotten my story in the local paper, but trust me, this one's a legend in the pizza joint archives. The legend is big and as messy as the mother of all meatlovers herself. Canadian prairie nights were as peaceful as a flannel-draped grandma, fire crackling in the hearth. So when the delivery ping for large pepperoni, extra cheese, backdoor delivery popped up, I figured it was just another hungry homesteader craving greasy goodness. Turns out, life throws you curveballs even in sweater weather. The address led me to a rambling farmhouse, tucked between fields of swaying wheat. But instead of porch lights, a flicker of mischief danced in the windows. "Back door," the instructions said, and against my mama's ingrained paranoia, I followed them. Stepping past the screen door, I entered a detached garage, the air thick with testosterone and something else, green and leafy. 3 guys, built like hockey enforcers with biceps bigger than my future, stared back. One, a shirtless behemoth with more tattoos than a biker convention, smirked and locked the big door. My pulse hammered a polka on my ribs. Mama's voice echoed in my head. Never trust back doors with no front porch lights. Surrounded by 3 giggling giants and enough contraband to make Snoop Dogg blush, I clung to the pizza box like a shield. Trying to keep the fear from seeping into my smile, I stammered, "Pepperoni, extra cheese." Laughter erupted, loud and raucous. "Nah, man," one said, eyes glazed over like maple syrup. "This is an initiation." Before I could ask what initiation required befriending a pizza delivery guy, poppers started exploding. Tiny plastic grenades of confetti and fear peppered the muscle man's chest, each pop punctuated by their high-pitched giggles. The whole scene felt like a fever dream, me, the unwilling hostage, surrounded by stoned Vikings throwing fireworks at their shirtless comrade. I kept forcing smiles, a nervous comedian performing for an audience of giggling giants. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, measured in popper detonations, the garage door swung open. Relief flooded me, sweet and warm like grandma's apple pie. They handed me a crumpled bill, not even a decent tip for surviving their twisted prank. As I walked away, their laughter echoing in the night, I knew 2 things. First, never trust back doors without porch lights, and second, YouTube stardom probably doesn't pay the bills. Later, I stumbled across their video, titled "Pranking the Pizza Guy with Exploding Popcorn." My face, pale and terrified, was the punchline. That night, I ate cold pizza and watched the Northern Lights dance, nursing a bruised ego and a newfound appreciation for grandma's sensible paranoia. Because even in the quiet serenity of the Canadian prairies, you never know when life will throw you a pizza-fueled, popper-wielding curveball.